Today we're replacing the R303 relay in a 2003 Ford Expedition. We were able to find the relay on eBay for $12 plus shipping, so relatively pretty cheap. The shop wants to replace the fuse panel for about $800. So we're going to try a $12 fix to see how that works. Continuing on, the book, sorry it's shaky, states that there's a fuel pump relay or shutoff switch, PCM fuel pump monitor, and fuel pump for R303. And on the front of the fuse panel, the rest of the relays, it shows a fuel pump relay here. It's 203. And then also these three fuses, which have all tested good. So now we're going to remove the entire fuse panel, take it apart, and solder R303 onto the back where it's damaged. So next up, this panel right here just unsnaps. You have to lift up the kick plate a little bit to get the bottom part out. And I also pulled back this door seal molding to gain access. And then this little panel right here that is in front of the fuse panel itself just simply snaps out of place also. The first screw that I'm going to take off, or the first nut, is right there. Continuing on, it's coming apart, but there's a lot of plugs to disconnect. They have a little spring-loaded clip on the side. Just release that and they pull out. So I'm working on getting all of those done. And then maybe the fuse box will fall out so I can put it on the bench and get to soldering on it. The fuse panel is out. There is a thick cable on the firewall side, which is right here. That's a power cable. It runs up and hooks onto your battery. So what I did is I tied a cable to the other end of it and fished it through the firewall so that I can pull it back through once I get this box put together. You can tell there's several plugs, but the nice thing about it is they'll only plug into one part of the fuse box. You can't cross them up. They'll only go one way, so that's a good thing about that. The bolt that I took off initially that went right here, that was the only bolt that attached it. Once it was unbolted, and then you simply slide it off this stud, bring it out to about here, and then just pull it towards the seat and it'll come right out. So now I'm going to take the box apart, get to the motherboard so that I can get the the R303 replaced. I want to show you real quick on this connector here. It's the first big one that you come to. It just so happens to have this little place where you can stick your finger and then just simply pull it out. So here's the back side of the fuse panel. I want to draw your attention to this connector. This is where the main power comes into the fuse box. Now, just so that you can see, it has a tab on the front and the back, and I couldn't reach that when the fuse panel was inside the car. But now that it's out, it's very simple to be able to take these tabs off. So once the tabs are released, this cover comes off, and then you'll notice on the back side it has a lug on it for the main power. Now I could have taken that nut off and removed the panel and left this wire in there. This wire goes up to the battery to the positive side. Once again, I'll draw your attention to the plugs. You have these different sizes on the front. They're very simple to get to. This is the one that had that piece where I slid it open and it popped off. So there's 6 there. Now on this side, there's also 2. One here and one here. And then in the back, there's 4 plugs. They're all different sizes, so you can't get them mixed up. So there's one here, 2, 3, 4. And then this is the main terminal going into the fuse panel. So I'm in the process of diagramming all of the relays and the fuses. I want to make sure that I mark where everything goes so everything works properly when I'm done. So as I'm taking this apart, I'm also looking for anything unusual. So here I see some corrosion on one of these relays. It looks like some moisture had maybe gotten into the fuse panel. And then also here's some more moisture on that plug-in. Now that I've pulled all the fuses and the relays out, I'm going to split the case so I can get the motherboard out. So that's next. The case is coming apart. I've got the corner. I'm just going to work my way around the edges. I started right here at the plug-ins though. That seemed to be the easiest, so I could put my finger inside and then spread them apart as I'm releasing the tabs. So here we have the case split apart. And as I'm splitting it apart, these little tabs came off these posts. Doesn't seem like a big deal. I'll just stick them back on when I'm through. And that way the plug-ins will work properly from one side of the housing to the next. These are for the relays. But I have this relay right here in the center, just like the other videos that you've seen, right here in the side of it. If you'll notice right down in here, here's a better image. You can see right down inside, in between those, where the relay is burnt and smoked. You can also see on the back of the board where the pin is burnt, so it's got very hot back there. So when I solder the new relay on there, I'm going to be very careful not to overheat it, because I could actually burn out the next relay putting it in there, and this is a whole lot of work to have to try to redo it. Here's another image of the relay where it's burnt. It's actually blown out right there in the side of it. You can see where the other side of it is smoked. You can see some of the white, and then down there it's actually blown out. There's a real bad burnt spot on that. Here's a shot of the old relay. You definitely can tell it's burnt. One of the pins is actually torn out of it. That happened when I was taking it from the motherboard. And this is a card from the gentleman where we bought the new relay, ordered it off from eBay, got it just within a few days from the Speedometer repair guys. So that relay is in the car, and we'll see how it works out here in just a little bit. Here I wanted to show real quick the new relay that I ordered off eBay. $12 plus shipping. Pretty inexpensive if this works. The manufacturer Omron G8QN. It's a 12 volt DC LA1A. Well, here's the back side where I soldered. Now, this joint right here was a little bit difficult, but I think I got that. But the one I'm concerned about is this one. That was the post that was scorched, and the soldering joint looks a little cold. All right, this one, and then this one all turned out great. I did sand on this just a little bit, just to clean some of the scorch off from it, just to make sure I could see what was down around the rim. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to stick this thing back in there. If it works, it's a $12 fix. So here we're going to solder where I set the tip on the motherboard and touch it against the pin, and then feed some solder and then remove the heat. Touch the motherboard and the pin once again, feed the solder, then remove the heat. That one here, I need just a little bit more solder to it. Now as I go through and put these little connectors in place right here, I just want to make sure that the relay plugs in. So when you fit them up there, just set the relay above it to make sure they line up okay. Continue on, what I've done is I've snapped in all of the relays. But I popped all the rest of the relays in there because those little tabs that were on top of those pins, if you get them turned 180 degrees off, then the relays won't pop in and fit securely. So I did that and popped all the relays in. Now all that's left are the fuses. Well, there it is, back together. I'm going to leave the power cord off because it is able to move around a lot more freely underneath the dash so that I can get things plugged in. Then once I get it in position, I'll simply put that back on and then put this little cover over the top of that power lug. Alright, so here's a spot in the firewall where I snaked through the power cord, and then simply it'll just, it's got a grommet that seals it off so water doesn't come through. Make sure the grommet is pulled through, and then hook it back to the battery. Okay, so I'm continuing here with the fuse panel installation. Everything is plugged in on top. The main power cord is connected to the side of the fuse panel. All the prongs, or all the connectors are on. 2 here on the side, the 4 in the back, and then the 6 up on top. So now I'm going to slide it in to where these tabs, I don't know if you can see these tabs back here. Let's try. Here's my finger. There's a tab. It simply goes into a slot and then bolts onto the other side. Alright, here we go. The fuse box is put back in. We're going to check it to see if it'll start, see if that fixes it. So go ahead and give it a try. Car works perfect. Starts just the way it's supposed to. Praise the Lord.